Alright, it's always a high scoring output whenever these two teams match up because they can't seem to ever guard each other, and a lot of it stems from the late rotations. Whenever a player gets two on the ball, that usually triggers a scramble, and once that happens, the possession's basically over because they're either late, can't recover, or don't give multiple efforts, so it usually leads to open looks. The Nugs are always going to have Jokic showing off screens against the primary ball handlers, so Durant and Book were getting off the rock quick for Nick Richards to make reads on the short, and he was better than I expected. He was opening up the swing, finishing at the rim, and showing off his short jumper for middies, so he got to feast throughout. But so did the others, because they were all playing on the catch, so the driving kick was unlocked, and they probably should have made even more shots than they did just based on the quality of looks the stars were generating them. The Nugs had Jokic drop against Beal, so he was eating that space to get to his spots or to Nash for sprays, and even though Durant and Book were making the right passes more times than not, the two were still getting theirs. Whenever Durant was patient turning the corner, he was getting to his spots, and whenever he got nausea on him, he played ones, and whenever Book came off a screen clean, he was pulling or getting to his spots, so the two were scoring just as much as they were creating. But per usual, it wasn't without turnover issues, so they were getting the rock picked off in passing lanes or losing them in driving lanes, and that was contributing to the even bigger issue being their transition defense. Jokic is always going to make him pay off a quick throw ahead, and I lost track of the amount of runouts they gave up because it was coming off a turnover, miss, or even a make. The obvious ones came from Gordon, because once he found Tracy from the corner off a swing early, he went on a ridiculous heater and was stepping into him after that. But that pace was doing just as much for the Nugs half court, because they got to flow right into their actions, and Jokic and Maul just picked the Suns apart throughout. They had their big show-off Maul screens, so he made the right read seeing too, and Jokic was doing the same thing whenever they doubled him in the post, but he was doing just as much damage on those pin downs and inverteds. Bigs can't navigate screens, and smalls always have to hedge, so he's either getting an open look or opening up one inside for either Brown or MPJ. Between all the runouts, cuts, and trays they were getting, they were basically coasting through three, but that easiness was what hurt them, because I think they got a little too complacent at the end of the third, so it eventually caught up to them in the fourth. They were exchanging buckets with the Suns instead of breaking the game open with their defense, and once the Suns started getting the whistles on top of those, they gradually shifted the momentum throughout to run it back, because the Nugs were being forced to take it out the net, so without that same pace, they lost that rhythm they had. Now those same open looks weren't falling when they went to their two-man game down the wire, and that was probably the worst stretch I've seen from them, because it's usually impossible to stop, so they were fortunate MPJ made a crucial steal to tie the game, then even more fortunate Brown with the tray to win the game, until Durant mashed that right after off a breakdown. That was a fitting sequence because it was basically the theme of the game, and in OT, I would have expected the Suns to have the momentum off their comeback, but they couldn't stop that Spanulis variation the Nugs were spamming for Maul up top, so they got a good shot every time. At least Jokic still got to finish with a historic 30-20-20, and as nice as that stat line is, it wasn't even the nicest part of his night, because he was letting Plumlee stat pad his in the last minute to make his look nice. Just watch the tape.
And they will! Jokic with assist